Bonjour, my name is Stephanie Hutchinson, Director of Programs here at the National Music Center. Welcome to this very special program, our final installment in the series of 5 lunch hour sessions connecting music and wellness. Before beginning today's program, I would like to acknowledge that we are located here at Mohkinstsis at the confluence of the Bow and Elbow Rivers on the traditional lands of the people of Treaty 7 region. It's comprised of the Kainai, Siksika, Piikani, Tsuut'ina, and Stoney Nakoda, and the territory is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta Districts 5 and 6. National Music Center is committed to reconciliation through music and our programs at Studio Bell. We elevate many Indigenous voices through live music offerings, through our exhibitions, and our public programs. Most importantly, we continue to consult with our National Indigenous-led Program Advisory Committee to help inform, guide, and curate the National Music Center's plans. We will continue to support and work in collaboration with Indigenous communities to share their stories, inspire dialogue, and build awareness of the musical and societal contributions that Indigenous peoples in the arts have made past, present, and future. Now, today's program is all about discovering how the nuances of music present solutions in the workplace. With evidence-based insights and strategies, we'll uncover the transformative power of music in fostering team cohesion, enhancing productivity, and alleviating workplace stress. From improving sleep quality and reducing stress to heightening focus and enhancing team synergy, music can become part of the corporate ethos, resonating with organizational objectives. Our guest today is Jennifer Buchanan of JB Music Therapy, a recognized industry leader with a career spanning more than 30 years. Jennifer masterfully weaves music therapy, business, and heart, extending her influence across the country and beyond. Her clinical specialization encompasses mental health, corrections, and corporate wellness. This expertise is beautifully captured in her book, Wellness Well Played, where she delves into the profound influence of music, neuroscience, and the power of a playlist. She has served as the past president and former executive director of the Canadian Association of Music Therapists and is currently a director here at the National Music Center. Please visit our Music and Wellness exhibit on Level 3 to see more of Jennifer's work in action. One of the largest galleries here at Studio Bell, Music and Wellness taps into the power of music on mental and physical health, exploring 4 themes: music and healing, music and support, music and culture, and music and memory. So please feel free to explore the exhibit after the session. Finally, on behalf of the National Music Center, I would like to thank and recognize Bell for making this series possible. Thank you all for being here and tuning in online, and without further pause, please welcome Jennifer Buchanan.
Well, hello, corporate Calgary. I'm so glad that you're here today. Welcome to one of our more beautiful spaces in this city. And if you haven't been here before, we're just so glad you're here. And it's also the home of Canadian music, something that I know is really near and dear to our hearts, especially if you're here today. In this dynamic landscape of small, medium, and large organizations, we're seeing a lot of challenges and opportunities right now. Those could include the transition of employees. We're bringing in some new talent. We might be creating new products and services. And then the backdrop to that all is we're also seeing an increase of concerns around burnout, a lot of stress, and perhaps this is also addressing some of those moments where we're not feeling as creative and productive as we'd like to be. Today, what I'm wanting to focus on is one of the ingredients that I feel is missing, and that is how can we be bringing music to work? And not just the backdrop of the tunes we're listening to in our headphones, but intentionally doing it, strategically incorporating music in a way that can actually help us achieve our goals. We're going to start with a really simple exercise right out of the gate. I want you to begin to think about all the music that you've been drawn to lately. All the music over these last couple of weeks, or maybe even since the beginning of September, What music have you been drawn to lately? And I want to tell you that if right away you went, I haven't been listening to a lot of music, that's okay. I want you to think about that too. Because as we answer this question, we're going to be able to begin to dig deeper into how music is affecting us in the here and now. So as you think about how you would describe the music you've been drawn to lately, I want you to put 3 words to it, 3 adjectives. I've put some examples right in front of you that you can use, but please feel free to come up with your own. 3 words that describe the music you've been drawn to lately. And now I'd like you to just turn to your neighbor, and if you're online right now, you can jot them down on a piece of paper, but I'd like you to turn to a neighbor and just share those 3 words and the music that you're thinking about. Go ahead. Thank you so much. For some of us, those 3 words just came so quickly. For some of us, we might still be working on them a little bit. The 3 words that describe the music you've been drawn to lately. And I'm sure we could talk about that for a little while longer. Here's the question that I have. If those 3 words that you just selected, if the evidence is true that our music is so incredibly personal, is it possible that those 3 words also describe you? Oh, for someone it did. And if not you, in the moment, is it what you aspire to be? And if neither of those, is it perhaps something you should take to your next therapy session? And I will just leave that right up to you. So here we are, just a simple exercise, but all of a sudden it goes beyond the question of what's your favorite song? And so that's what we're going to do today. The effectiveness and efficiency of music that led me to become a music therapist, and perhaps what was also my early success in getting this kid's brain to light up as I was strumming my guitar. It was this effectiveness and efficiency of music that really took me on this trajectory and this journey of a career that I've embarked on now for over 3 decades. When I was a decade older than this picture, so around 13 or 14, was when I first really witnessed the power of music and recognized it. And it happened after my granddad had his 2nd major stroke at the age of 62, someone who ran a sawmill, worked very hard, looked after his family, and then all of a sudden was in a long-term care setting prior to quality of life measures where there was an awful lot of nursing. And he was no longer able to walk or talk. It changed our family. You may have had experiences like that in your own family. We would start going to visit him on Friday nights, and Granny asked me the very simple question, would you sing your granddad's favorite song? That was it. So simple. But I'm telling you right now, it wasn't easy because Granddad was the most miserable person I'd ever met in my life, and the stroke did not make him any more cheerful. So I went home and learned a really old song. It was called The White Cliffs of Dover, sung by Vera Lynn. And I went in there the following Friday, prepared with the song. Granddad was in bed. And as I sang the very beginning of it, there'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover, my granddad would cry. It would be the first time that I'd see that happen. But it wasn't the only thing that happened. There was a screaming lady down the end of the hall who came closer and closer and closer. And what we learned is she stopped screaming and she was just singing really loud. And then we also had the wandering guy. Maybe you've met him before. And he wandered right on in, and Granny pulled up a chair right beside me. Now we're this motley crew, singing an old song, all together, completely connected. You might be in motley crews like that in your work environment with a variety of people, from screaming ladies to wandering guys to perhaps grumpy men. There might be a whole group that you are working with on a regular basis. And what I can tell you for certain is that music is a great starting point for us to break down some of these barriers. Starting a private practice here in Calgary has taken a minute as a music therapist, but it also has been a dream come true. We have been able to bring music therapy now to residents that are in long-term care, that are feeling isolated and alone. We've also been able to bring it into rehabilitation centers where people are recovering their walk and their speech post-stroke or a brain injury. And then we've also been able to bring it into our schools and helping some of the kiddos with the learning challenges they have. Now, today, we are really launching. If it's possible in all those settings, just imagine what we could do here. What could we do in the corporate and bridging all those gaps together? For what we know for certain is that music is everywhere. Music is everywhere in the world. There is not one society, one community, one group of people that doesn't use it. From the first beating drum to using our voices so we could call and let people know where we are, to the first wooden flute, to the first sounds that we were making that were so incredibly musical. Music is truly everywhere, but not just in the world, also in our brain. And there is no other activity we know of that lights up more areas of this brain than when we listen to music that matters to us. And what ends up happening when that happens is we become more warm, more connected to ourselves and others. When we listen to music, it activates the brain. When we engage in music, it can change the brain. And that's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to start with one area in the brain, which is our amygdala, which is a small cluster of cells on both sides of our right and left hemispheres. It's central to our heightened emotions. When we're triggered by more than the stress that we normally are used to and it becomes difficult, what happens is that our frontal lobe turns off, where all those decisions are being made. And we go right to that amygdala and we just feel a whole bunch of stuff. And when that happens, it's difficult to make a good decision. And let's face it, when we're at work and we're considering things like workplace safety and we're needing to be focused and we're needing to get a product out to the line, it is critical that we're making our next best decisions. So what can happen next with music? Well, it's good news. Because when we just begin to engage in music, and it doesn't take long, just think about the last time you heard your favorite song on the radio and how quickly you engaged. Imagine that moment where you got goosebumps and you went, whoo, I got all the feels happening right now. It happens so incredibly quickly. So instead of triggering stress and frustration, what happens when we go to the hippocampus when we're engaging in music is that it's triggering creativity. It's triggering inspiration, and it's bringing in the warmth, and it's reminding you of your humanness. So, engaging in music, this is really important. What happens is that it gives us the capacity to enable clearer, more confidence, and make those better decisions that we're needing to make. In addition to this, we have been learning time and time again about the different chemicals that are being released in our body as we listen to music. There is so much evidence in regards to this. These different chemical messengers, including hormones and neurotransmitters, are producing all of the endocrine glands. They're being produced by the endocrine glands. Repeat after me. Endocrine glands, and the nervous system that are being regularly released. That's what's happening here as we go through these. And what happens then? Well, we can have elements like dopamine going up, serotonin. Serotonin's the one. Dopamine's the happiness that we talk about, that we can get a boost. Serotonin is the one that when it gets too low, we don't feel so great, and we might even get sad. Oxytocin's the one that helps us feel more connected. And then there's cortisol that goes right down. All of those can either help us regulate or dysregulate if we don't get them in the right way. Music affects all four of them. So what I'm trying to say is ultimately we know is that music functions as a drug. But even more importantly, what I want to share today is that music functions as a drug and we need to use it intentionally. So, what else do we know? This is where a lot of the evidence has been sharing some great things with us. And I don't want you to worry too much because you're going to get a long email from me after this. And I'm going to send you all of this data along with the links so you can look it up or you can pass it on to somebody else at your office who loves looking at the data. This is what else we know about music, that it makes repetitive tasks easier. So if you're someone that is doing something over and over again, music can make it easier and maybe even more enjoyable. It can also help with our cognitive load. When we start feeling that pressure, that deep sense of pressure, and we're just needing to have a bit greater ease, it doesn't take long for music to help give us some margin around those pressure moments. It lowers blood pressure and heart rate in order to help us feel again more relaxed, but also to look after some of these very important organs in our body. It reduces our stress and anxiety, and let's face it, people are talking about these two things a lot. And there's a lot of different levels of how people may be expressing that stress, the fatigue, the anxiety. It heightens focus. Just talk to a high schooler that has been able to laser right in as to the music that they're listening to that can keep them right in the zone so they can get their homework done. And then there's igniting imagination and creativity. I often recommend to people that might have other pursuits outside of work, perhaps you love to paint or do poetry, and by listening to a song with your eyes closed just for 30 seconds before you get into your other art pursuit, it can help you feel more imaginative and in the moment. It creates a passage to long-term memory. This was incredibly powerful when it came to me spending time with Granddad and all of the memories that started to flood back, and not all of them were grumpy. It provides a mood boost, something where we can turn around and feel better. There are so many moments where we might not be feeling great, and we need to, because we need to go into that next meeting and we need to feel better. We need to be able to do that presentation and feel better about ourselves as we do it. Music can help boost that confidence and that mood that we need. It fosters team cohesion with the incredible blend of people that we are now all mixing with, and aren't we grateful that we are? From the youngest to the eldest, from the different places throughout the world. I just can't help but think that there is so much more we know about ourselves and others. This can't help but make the workplace a stronger place to be. And finally, sleep quality. I want to talk about this one for a bit because this comes down to something incredibly simplistic, but again, not easy. And that is the better sleep you're going to have means that during the day you've had more moments where you've been able to engage your parasympathetic nervous system. And you have to do it throughout the day. And we keep hearing about this vagus nerve thing that people are talking about, which is the longest nerve in our brain, in our body, and it goes from the stem of our brain all the way into our gut. And that is the one that we want to activate so we can feel more relaxed. Well, we're told that the best way to do this is through breathing. And as we take a quick inhale and a longer exhale, that's when we're going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system. But it's better not to wait till just we go to bed. It's better to do it throughout the day so our body gets used to what that feeling is. But guess what else happens? What other phenomena we could learn today that's a quick inhale and a long exhale? Singing. Are you guys ready? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I got a little story first so you can all just start getting prepared. So if you have to do a few little vocal exercises, you can do that. We're going to sing a John Denver song. I hope that's okay. So I'm going to tell you why. Every week we've been doing a different song, and I've specially chosen it for you. And the reason why I'm choosing John Denver today, I first heard this song in the late 1970s by the man himself, who visited my elementary school. I didn't know who he was at the time, but the imprint he made on my life in visiting. He was doing a movie out on the West Coast Trail. I'm from Langley, British Columbia, and he was traveling, and I think it was the movie Ben. There was something. It was about bears and nature and things. So he was out there, and he was visiting some elementary schools, and we were lucky to have him come to ours. And but what I loved is how he shared a story that goes with the song. Don't you love going to hear your favorite artists and they tell you a bit about it? And you can hear elements of where did this come from? And Country Roads, Take Me Home became an anthem of sorts for a sense of belonging somewhere. And this is a topic I did with some of my clients this week as well, about what does it mean to truly belong. And but there's a lot of other themes in here. I mean, you can even look that there's branding in here. We're going to brand places and brand feelings about things. We're going to look at simplicity and clarity, different ways that we can market an image, market an experience. And so as we go through this song and sing it together, did I tell you we were singing it? As we go through and sing together, and there's no shyness here, we're in this incredible studio. When are you ever going to have an opportunity to sing with such an incredible group? Is everyone ready? Did you warm up? Are you all good? All right. So we're going to sing this beautiful song together. We're going to think about what belonging means to us, perhaps home, what it means to be home. Here we go. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place where I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, oh, beautiful. All my memories gathered round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue waters, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrops in my, here we go choir, country roads, woohoo, That's it. I hear her voice in the morning as she calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. And driving down the road, I get a feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, here we go, country roads, take me home to the place where I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads, oh, take me home, my country roads. Trey Bow. Is that right, Andrew Musker? Trey Bow? Is that what I say? So here we are singing John Denver songs. Why don't we do more music hubs instead of book clubs? Although book clubs are still good. But seriously, isn't this good? We could have a long conversation around the themes that we just found in that music and how can it apply into our workspaces, our home spaces? We're going to move into my top 5 tips to maximize our music. And this is individually and collectively, something that we can all do right here, right now, when we leave today, maybe even as you're touring around this beautiful facility afterwards, but that you can also take back and share with others that you're working with. And also, as the holiday seasons are coming, maybe this is an opportunity to share with your family. So we're going to look at these top 5 tips to maximize your music. And what are the most significant considerations in regards to that. The first one is identifying preferences. Just like our favorite cup of coffee, the favorite blend that you love so much, or also what apps you're going to keep on your phone or get rid of, I want you to think about the preferences of music that you want to incorporate in your lives. Now, as music therapists, we don't just look at a particular genre, although that's important, but we also break it down into other elements. We look at things like tempo, the speed of music, the timbre, the tone of music, the melodies, the rhythms, the lyrics. Some of us in this room, 100% reason why you choose the music you choose is because of the lyrics. For some of you, you forget all the words. You have no idea what those lyrics are, but you remember the melody so clearly. We all listen to music slightly differently, and it all matters. But the more intention we put into it, perhaps there's more elements that we're going to be able to add into our repertoire. We're going to look at tempo today. As we look at tempo, research says that this is one of the most significant things when it comes to us working on things like our balance. Perhaps also our walking gait post-stroke. We see this in healthcare a lot. Tempo is also something that can really get us going and moving or make us feel high levels of anxiety and frustration. So we're just going to focus on this one. I'm going to play 3. I want you to really digest all 3. Really let it fill you up right now. We're going to go one after the other, no talking in between, just listening to the tempo. Here we go. Okay. I want you to think about which one resonated with you the best in this moment. And we're just going to lift the house lights just a little, because what I want is you to put up your hand if it was the first one. Who for the first one just resonated the most in this moment? Excellent. And who for the second one? Just that fit. That fit nice. Great. And how about number 3? Oh, that's so great. So here we are with number 3. And so we're looking around the room, and how's that possible? How's that possible? We're all in the same place at the same time for the same reason, and it was basically a third, a third, and a third. It was all different. And that's just tempo, one element of music that was going to affect us all differently. And one thing I know for certain, those that chose number 1, you're looking at 3 and going, I don't know. I don't know about you, right? We know those people. I don't know. And then 3's the same. It's like, I don't know how you could even handle that first one, right? And it's true. We have some judgments around this. We could define what sort of personalities were just reflected in that simple exercise. But what I want us to recognize right now is that we're just all different. And this is where the preferences matter. When I put together beats per minute, I wanted to give you something today, and again, this is going to come home with you. It's going to be in that long email. Did I tell you you're getting a long email from me? And I'm going to include everything so you have it. But I've put together just some ideas so you can see the different beats per minute for different things. But this, again, is a range, and it's just the evidence we have right now. I know the one particularly when it says steady state cardio, such as jogging. Okay? I'm looking at that one because it said 120 to 140. I tried that. It's way too fast for me. I cannot keep up. I am just not, and it just made me exhausted way faster. I have to bring mine down a little bit. But this is going to be a little bit of some guidelines that we can begin looking at for all the different places of health in our life, from mindful eating to doing yoga to resting to sleeping. There are many beats per minute counting apps that you can get now that we can look at. And the best results with the music itself, always, is when you're going to personalize it. We're going to talk a bit more about that as we move forward. What I want you to know for sure is that list that you contributed to before you got here today, where you were asked, what are some songs that help you best rest and feel comforted and less stressed, and the other one more motivated. It has been put together in a playlist specially for you on the Spotify account for the National Music Center. But it's not just yours that are going to be there. You're going to be able to look back and see what the teachers had to say, what the wellness practitioners had to say, what the healthcare workers said, what the musicians said last week. So you can look at all the different playlists that we have been developing over the weeks. So the very first one that we looked at today to maximize our music is that preferences matter, and taking a moment to identify those preferences matters. Next, creating the right kit. Ensuring others have the opportunity to have access to music has become incredibly important to me, and this series, this number 2, should actually be number 1 for me. Because I keep thinking about the people in my own life who may not have access. I think about some of the people I know in long-term care that they don't have access to the music they need to listen to at the time they need it. So when I'm talking about creating the right kit, I'm going to assume in this room that most of us have the means and the opportunities to do that. And aren't we fortunate that we can? Because having access to music when we need it, there couldn't be a greater gift. With that said, I'm going to surmise there may be 1 or 2 of you, don't look around the room, 1 or 2 that might be going, oh my God, the tech now that we're having to figure out all the time so I can actually put my playlist together is really difficult and challenging, or it's just taking too much time. All those things are happening for real. Here's an idea. If you've got some really great, maybe, I'm going to say young person, but it doesn't have to be a young person, but maybe a great young person in your life this holiday season that you want to get help on using the streaming services, putting together playlists, invite them over. That can be your holiday gift this year. 2 hours of their time to help you put everything together. Make sure the app is right on the phone, doing all the things, so you always have access to your music. And plus, it's going to be that example that I had with Granddad. You know, Granddad taught me White Cliffs of Dover. Would I have learned that song otherwise? Would I still be singing that song now, so many years after he's passed? And every time I sing that song, I am seriously remembering him, and he's right beside me as I'm doing it. So these moments where we can have intergenerational moments, teaching one another, learning from one another, can be so important. At the same time, it might be as simple as you've been dying for a certain speaker or headphones this holiday. Now's the time to ask, that's what I want, that's what I want. And we can all get the right kit that we're looking for. I want to introduce you to a new program that we're beginning here. Shannon's in the audience. She's really happy I'm showing this photo right now. We're beginning to use it, and it's called Music Care, and it's clinically validated medical device class 1, and it allows for a reduction of more than 50% drug consumption in the hospital setting. And we're working on this right now. Remember when I said at the beginning, if music's doing this there, imagine what it can do for us. So if you're having difficulty with things like sleep, or if you're going to the dentist and going, oh my gosh, I can't barely get that crown this time, this is the sort of device we might want to start considering for ourselves and bringing into regular use. And it's called Music Care. So I'm going to send you information about that. That's part of that email. And it only takes about 20 minutes to implement it for you to get maximum results. So it's really, really quick and efficient as well. But I wanted to give you a heads up because it's brand new. We're going to have results of that probably next fall or the spring after that, where we'll be able to bring more information to you. Number 3. Let's harness the power of music throughout our day. Here's your next exercise today. This exercise I am also sending home with you if you want to try it again or to take it back to your colleagues at work. And it's called Music for Mood. And how this one works is that you're going to get a graph, and along the y-axis at the very top is your best self, and it goes my sort of average self, and then at the bottom it's my not so good self. And I don't describe those. And I don't describe those for a reason, because what's your best self is not my best self. You know, your best self might be highly optimistic and productive. Somebody else might use the word happy. So we want to be able to define each of these different emotion states to ourselves and being really authentic about who we are in those places. Because what are we learning more than anything? We want to get intentional, we want to delve deep, and to do that, we got to get also quite personal about it. Then on the x-axis, we're looking at wake up to noon to dinner, basically what's our time of day. And I want you to think about a regular day. You could choose a Wednesday, a Thursday, just a regular day. And you're going to plot your graph, again being as authentic as you can. I'm going to share mine. This is me. Yes, I am a morning person. This is what they look like. They're incredibly highly efficient in the morning and get a lot done. We are really positive. Guess what happens, though? We have this little bit of a plummet around that dinner hour. Do you see how that mid-afternoon dinner start coming down? But what you might not know is we don't mind. We don't mind being really, really high in the morning and then coming down in the afternoon and then having a bit of a bump at the end. What happens is when we put this together. I don't know why those two aren't connected right now. I'm going to fix that later. But what happens at that one dinner time is that I'm going to try to address what is it I'm missing. And some of you might think what I'm missing is energy. But that's actually not what I'm feeling I'm missing at all. It's at that time when I'm at my lowest in the day, what I don't want to hear is what's for supper. Right? I don't want to demand at a time when I'm feeling my lowest in the day. Who does? Some of you might have your lows in other times. Guess what you don't want? Demands, right? We don't want any expectations or demands when we're having our low moments in the day. So what is it that we need? Well, we might need one of these things. I just finished saying what I don't need is energy. What I need is love. What I need is that feeling of being nurtured at that time. I want you to put your own together. What is it throughout your day that if you could change it 5 to 10%, what would it be? What feeling do you need? Now, where's the music in all this? Well, guess what this is? Whatever name you just came up with, mine would be love, is the name of your playlist. That's the name. You put the feeling right there. And you're going to use that playlist at that particular time of day. And actually, if you really want to kind of elevate it, the experience, it's about 30 minutes ahead of that time when you actually have the low. You want to actually start it a bit sooner. I've just been working with someone with cancer right now. She's been completely blindsided by cancer. And she said, Jen, I'm feeling I've got to start it at noon because by 4 o'clock I'm really not good. And so we've put together an entire playlist that starts at noon for her so she can be ready for the 4 o'clock slump. So I'm going to leave this with you to think about, what do I need in my day? Number 4, finding your best groove. Oh, I love groove. Who doesn't love a little groove? And a lot of groove is rooted in another incredible phenomena. I am putting together a video behind me. You're going to see 32 metronomes. They're all at the same tempo. We just finished talking about tempo, but look at how they're all going different ways. Do you see how that's happening? And we're going to talk a little bit about entrainment, and I'm just going to talk about it as you watch what's behind me. And it's quite fascinating to see. I first learned about entrainment when I was in high school, because entrainment is in all the sciences. It is in biology, it's in chemistry, it's in physics, like it's everywhere. You can see elements of it everywhere. In therapy, it's called flow. We talk about flow, and that you feel at work, it might be a really, really deep sense of connection with someone. When you're entraining someone, you know that moment where you go, oh yeah, they get me. That feeling, doesn't it feel great when you know someone gets you? That's entrainment. So it's when you're merging with or synchronizing to. And as you're watching this, you can see, are you starting to see how things are starting to happen? Isn't this remarkable? So when I first heard about this was in high school, and it was where grandfather clocks were side by side, and they were all going at different times until they weren't. They all started going at the same time. And this is based on the isomorphic principle that one's mood or movement can match to another person's mood or movement. So like when you're walking together with someone down the street, or how about if you're working with someone really grumpy for a long time, right? You know exactly how these things can feel. Like, look what's happening now. And do you see there's one that's just there's one in every crowd, right? And so that one right there is not gonna go. But the significant thing I want you to see, as I'm kicking, do you see the flexible base? There's a flexible base. Guess who can be the flexible base to help all this happen? You. We can, within our teams as leaders. We provide the flexible base so we can create some entrainment. So, entrainment is one of my favorite things. Do you like it? All right, here we go. So, we want to partner better with music. If you are looking to complete a major project, I'm going to give you the names of your next playlists, okay? The first one is inspiration. We need that feeling of inspiration if we're going to create something magic. Just that magical project, and we need to get to the end. Everyone can contribute to what our inspirational playlist is going to be. The next one is, do you want to improve your time to complete it? Right? Woo, getting things done. That's where we want like drive. We want something that's really going to hyper-focus us and get it done. Next one, are you looking to improve your confidence? And that could be personally, professionally, in anything. I need it before I get up here, for sure. I get nervous-sighted. And then I have to be able to figure out how am I going to, get all set up for that. For that, we need, it's all about that bass, It's really going to help you because it helps grounds you right in. And do you want to feel less alone when you're working? Because some jobs are pretty isolating. People are still working from home and loving it, but it can get lonely. And so that's when we're going to want to use familiar music. We're moving on to our last consideration when we're looking at music that's going to help us maximize and improve that high performance that we're wanting. And that's exploring new music. If a growth mindset sounds appealing to you, if that's something you're always looking towards, there's so much evidence that says looking at new music can contribute to that. You can do this by staying curious. We talked just a bit ago about looking at the different generations in our families, around our colleagues, where people from different places around the world are coming together. Finding out and being really, truly curious about the music that is a part of them is going to tell you so much about who they are. You could look at music documentaries. We can bring together the holiday table and go around the room and ask every person at the table this year, what music have you been drawn to lately? What music has the 7-year-old been drawn to? What music has the 94-year-old been drawn to? And why is it important to them? And you're going to hear all sorts of stories. If you haven't been feeling connected, let's let music take some of the heavy lifting for that and help us out. Of course, new doesn't have to mean literally new. I can remember there's an entire kind of half a decade in the early 90s when I had kids, and they completely hijacked my music. I don't know if anybody else had that. Like, it was almost a decade. Like, it was all about them. And I missed so many things. I've literally had to go back and relearn all the 90s music because everybody knows 90s music, but me. It just wasn't programmed into my brain. I didn't have the neural pathways built in yet. So I've really worked hard to learn some of the great 90s music. So, of course, new music doesn't have to mean exactly new. And if none of these things, if these top 5 tips don't work for you, keep calm, there's always therapy. And what I want to give you today is a very special music prescription that I put together for you is a reminder that music can be a bridge to something deeper within ourselves and a way to address our human need to connect, to keep going and feel fulfilled. After Granny and Granddad and moving to this glorious city, I had an opportunity to begin partnering with a lot of incredible people. And today I would be remiss not to say that this place has been one of the most significant. And there's a really popular tech company out there that has this great slogan called Think Different. And what I have really, really loved about this place is that it encourages us to feel different. And that's what music is intended to do. I also wanted to make sure that we feature some of the incredible staff around here today. Because not only am I grateful to the space, we're also very fortunate to have the CEO and president today, Andrew Mosker, in the audience. We also have Phil in the audience, and I know there's many others that are here. They make sure that this place is a home to you and is warm and inviting as music itself. And of course, none of this would be possible without Bell and for supporting this entire series. I wanted to end on a brief video about what is happening in music therapy around the city. And the reason I wasn't sure if I was going to share this video today because it's really not about corporate wellness, except for in the way that I'm just a small business that has been able to try to do a little bit of good. And I wanted to show you bits of this because it's people like the National Music Center, and in particular, the new National Music Center Music Therapy Initiative that's going to help us continue doing work like this. I hope you enjoy this very last piece, and thank you so much for coming.
Every week, Jennifer Buchanan brings her world of music to people with physical and/or mental disabilities.
Over the centuries, the therapeutic value of music has been proven time and time again.
Leaders from different sectors are joining forces to realize the potential of music therapy and other musical modalities in health.
Music can tap into that part that helps them feel I'm okay.
It's very good for the soul, mind, and the body.
If music can be doing all of that, just imagine what it could be doing for all of us. Thank you.